I was 22 when I went to live in the monastery. I was 21 when I had the realization in college that I did not want to go in finance like I thought I wanted to. I had an internship lined up on Wall Street. We met with this multi-billionaire hedge fund manager. Everyone said, this is the guy you want to be. This is where you want to get. This is what success looks like. He gave a 2-hour talk and it sucked my soul right out of my body. And I remember thinking, I don't know exactly what I want to do with my life, but I do not want to end up like this guy. And to be fair to him, I have no idea what was going on in his life. He could have had a colonoscopy before he came in the room, for all I know. And I'm not saying all people in finance are miserable, because I know tons of people who are in that world that are fulfilled in different ways. But that was the first time that I really had an inner reckoning and challenged some long-standing ideas of where I thought happiness was going to come from, and started asking myself the question, well, if that's not what I want, then what is it that I want? If that's not the path I want, what is it that I want? And I just started exploring like things that I thought I wanted. I want a family. Well, why do I want a family? It'll give me meaning. Why do I want meaning? Well, that'll make me happier. I want money. Well, why do you want money? Well, then I go on more vacations, have free time. What will that do? That will make me happier. I want to be married. What will that do? Give me love. What will that do? That will make me happier. So everything was like, when I really looked at it, I spent months, not a long time, but at the time it was a lot. Just like, what are all these things I'm pursuing? What do they reduce to? And it was just this desire to feel a certain way. And it just was so clear to me at the time, like, if that's at the heart of everything, figure out what that is. Because all these paths, like, how many people do you know who are married and miserable? How many people do you know who are make so much money, but they're completely enslaved to the process and they feel dead inside? Or have kids and like they resent their children. Just like, you just going on those paths is not going to guarantee this thing that your mind is subconsciously pushing you to. And I didn't really know what that thing was or how to get there or how to reverse engineer. I did just know, though, at the time I was meditating, and it was anchoring me into a place within myself where the peace that was arising seemed less contingent upon the external variables. I'd be walking around campus, and after a couple weeks of doing this, and I just noticed myself smiling more, or things would happen that would typically cause stress, and they would just like brush off like water on Teflon. And so that spoke to me. That made me curious. And I am like as type A of a personality as you can get. My mind goes, all right, you're doing it 15 minutes a day. It's going really well. What would happen if you did 15 hours a day? Like, where can you go to do something like that all day long? I had known of like Eat, Pray, Love and that sort of thing. So I thought I was going to go. There's still like jokes, because I was in a fraternity at the time, like fraternity members and sorority people. There was just like a whole rumor going around, like, do you know Cory's going to go like sit on a mountaintop and find himself? Because it was so contrary to like how people knew me at the time. But I felt it deep in me, and I just kept following that intention. And anyway, I went on a 7-day silent retreat at Insight Meditation Society in Massachusetts when I was right after I graduated college. And I told them, like, hey, I want to go deeper into this stuff, and I want it to be hard. Like, I really want to be stripped down. It's like very young man kind of orientation. And they were like, all right, cool. Well, a good place to go is Burma, because the teachings are like as close to the heart of Buddhism as you can get. And if you really want it to be difficult and intense, you should study under this guy named Sayadaw U Pandita, who I didn't know anything about at the time, but was just notorious for being unrelenting in his push of people toward enlightenment. So I said, that's the one I want. 3 months later, I was on a plane and showed up wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, really with just like, I had a romantic idea of what it meant to do that work. More, it was a romantic idea of what it meant to come out on the other side. How cool would it be to do 6 months of this? Not really thinking through what it meant to, like, what was going to be unearthed. But just knowing if I could force myself into this, I would come out the other side with the idea was like a happiness that was not contingent upon external variables. And then everything in my life would just be gravy that I could build on it. That was the motivating force at the time. A few days in, I was like crying in my bed, wanting to leave because it was so physically painful. And I did not yet have the capacity to be with everything that was arising. And just to paint the context, that place, Pandita Rama, in Burma, the schedule there, you have to do a minimum of 14 hours of meditation each day, which is typically an hour of sitting meditation and an hour of walking meditation that you're alternating back to back. You wake up at 3 a.m., go to bed around 10 p.m., 2 small meals at 5:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m., no reading, no writing, no listening to music, no contact with the outside world, no speaking, and no days off. You were doing that every single day that you were there. And the mattresses you sleep on are so thin you could squeeze them between your finger and feel the bone on the other side. So this is not comfort. But the food was good, and they support you doing the practice. They don't want you working. They don't want you doing, like in other monasteries, you have different jobs supporting. They just want all of your time devoted to practice. And we're doing Vipassana, like straight up Vipassana meditation, which is just cultivating an awareness of the flow of experience as it's moving through you, watching thoughts come and go, watching emotions come and go, watching the pain arise. It's one thing to read about doing that, as you know, and it's another thing to actually be like in the midst of all of your physical pain and emotional pain and your thoughts. And the first thing that I encountered while I was there was very extreme physical pain from all of the sitting, right? Like I'm sitting, I can't even sit cross-legged still. It was even worse back then. They didn't have cushions for people like me where I can like kneel down and prop myself up. So I was trying to sit cross-legged. There's no air conditioning. The fans go out 30 times a day because electricity's going out. So you're sweating. There's mosquitoes. You're not sleeping. You get a handful of hours of sleep a night. And all day long, I'm just like sitting there like this crumpled up piece of wire. My body was so tight. And I'm trying to be aware. And all I'm doing is just cursing out every aspect of this place, the teacher, myself. And by day 7, I was ready to leave. I was like, there's just no way that I'm going to be able to do this for 6 months. Like, I'll go to Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery. That guy looked like calm and nice, and everything I read about him seems really sweet. Could walk around, you smell the flowers. This guy won't even let you look at the puppies running around the monastery. It's just like, it just felt so antithetical to everything I was looking for. So, day 7, I'm going to leave. Something happens when you know that you're going to come out of a difficult experience. My experience was like, it just lets you relax into the experience a little bit more. So I was going to go to the main office, try to get a plane ticket out. I'm still doing the meditation in the morning. I said, let's just like really go as deep as we can in these last couple of hours. And in doing that, it just softened the part of me that was so angry and frustrated at myself and everything around me. Just enough that I could see with a little more clarity what was going on. And what I noticed was like the thing that was arising first was physical pain in my back. There was like a sheet of pain that would come up every time I would sit down and meditate. But that wasn't the only part of the experience. The pain would come up, and then immediately there would be the thoughts of, what's wrong with my body? Nobody else looks like they're struggling as much as me. How long am I going to be able to do this? There's no way I can do this for 6 months. So all of those thoughts would arise. And then if I paid careful enough attention, I'd watch how those thoughts would trigger emotions of anger, sadness, grief, confusion. And then the most interesting thing, as my concentration got a little deeper, I could see that those emotions were actually making the intensity of the physical pain worse. And I saw this insidious mental loop that was just being fueled by the mind. There was an experience of primary pain that I could not control, the physical pain in my body. But there was all of this secondary pain that I was layering on top of it that was being turned up or down with the dial of my mind. Just seeing that was liberating, because now I felt like I had some agency with the experience. And that was the first time that I really started to play around with, like, okay, so if the thoughts are triggering the emotions, like, how do you reduce the charge of a thought? Right? I can't even necessarily stop the thought from arising, but I can watch the thought with compassion rather than fueling it. And that's where in that tradition you have that the mental labeling of experience. Like all day long, all you're doing is just labeling. As soon as you wake up, eyelids lifting. It's like you need to pee, need to pee. You're going to the bathroom, peeing. So you're just like tracking every sensation and every experience. So when you're noticing a thought, instead of letting it go into what they call papancha, which is one thought going into another, you just try to like meet it for exactly what it is, just the mental phenomenon that it is, thinking. So you just label it thinking. I hate this, thinking. What's wrong with your body? Thinking. And the more I would do that, the less those thoughts would trigger the emotions, the less the emotions would trigger the pain, and the more I was actually able to just settle into and soften into the pain. That first insight of primary pain versus secondary pain, and seeing that there was an ability to not fuel and cake on the layer of secondary pain, is what gave me enough space and confidence to keep going with that retreat. And then that retreat became one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. But I wanted to get out, and I was planning to get out. And it was an act of grace that I didn't.